lost sound.
Thanks everyone for joining. We're going to start the webinar in a couple minutes here.
Thank you.
This is Roy Masaros with SWS Webinar Committee. I will be the moderator today. It is 1 o'clock on my clock, so I did not receive a cue, but I suppose I should begin if that's okay. I have a couple of slides to go through, just as a administrative responsibility for what we do at SWS for these webinars. So welcome, thank you for joining us. And the next slide, slide number 2, can we go to slide number 2? Slide number 2, you've been seeing this while you were on hold. I believe I'm supposed to read through these first 6 slides, so that's what I was attempting to do, because there's some administrative things that I would need to review. I am seeing slide number 8 right now, and not slide number 2. So I suppose I can do some of my administrative responsibilities at the back half of this webinar today. I don't want to take too much time from our speaker, David McWhorter. So let me give a brief introduction before I turn this presentation over to him. Our presenter today is David McWhorter, a senior ecological data scientist at Jacobs and the data quality analytics manager for coastal estuary services. With over 20 years of experience in wetland monitoring, data QA, and ecological analytics, David leads the data quality and automation efforts behind Louisiana's coastwide reference monitoring system, also known as CRMS. He's a longtime champion of practical tools for field scientists and an early adopter of AI technologies in environmental science. Please welcome David McWhorter.
Okay. I'm gonna wait till let's go.
Those couple of slides were the ones I was going to read over, but since I already yielded to David, I'll let him begin when he's ready. And thank you everyone for joining.
Go to Let's go to the next slide real quick. Thanks, Roy. Next. Hi, I'm Dave. Most of what I've done in my career can be summed up like this. I turn huge and sometimes messy data sets into something stakeholders can use to make informed data-driven decisions. Now we have new tools in our toolbox, AI, ChatGPT, large language models. And it's natural to ask, is this cheating? The answer, no more than Excel was cheating when we stopped using calculators, or Word when we stopped using typewriters. Is it going to replace us? Also no. But professionals who learn how to use these tools effectively are going to outperform those who don't. So with that in mind, let's talk about what these tools really are. So ChatGPT, back one. So ChatGPT and it's like our large language models. They are text prediction machines. They are trained to guess the next word. Think of it as autocomplete, but they're trained on everything from scientific papers to Shakespeare. What they're good at is summarizing, recognizing patterns, automating tedious tasks. What they struggle with is nuance, judgment, real-world awareness, which is coincidentally most of wetland science. Slide. So here's what we're going to do today. First, I'll show you AI tools, how they can work with, help with field data work, like generating checklists based on your protocols and cleaning up rough field notes. Then we'll talk about data cleanup and analysis, how models can reform messy data tables, flag possible issues, and generate a starting point for R and Python scripts. We're also going to look on how AI can support reporting tasks. Not by writing your reports for you, that is mostly frowned upon, but organizing your data, outlining your content, and translating technical results into plain language drafts that you refine. You can even ask if your language is appropriate for your audience that you're trying to reach. That is general public, agency staff, or scientific conference. A lot of times, some people just have a problem with just tone. So you can get it to access that information. From there, we'll move into stakeholder communications, training and translating field phrases, building onboard guides, and summarizing meeting scripts. And after that, I'll show you how to prompt like a pro. Like, just like there are approaches to Googling successfully, building the correct prompt will help you be more successful and get what you want more effectively. So we'll give the model context, roles, steps, and expected format to get the best results. And finally, we'll walk through a couple of live demos and see exactly how it fits together with our workflows. Throughout, I'll call out where AI is a real asset and where a human still needs to be a loop and where it should be left out of the process altogether. Slide. So let's start where all our work begins, in the field. AI can help generate field checklists and gear inventories based on your scope of work. You can prompt it with site types and methods, and we'll turn a checklist tailored to that activity, whether it's a vegetation survey, a sediment core, or installing hydrographic sondes. When it comes to field notes, especially messy ones, AI can convert shorthand or voice-to-text transcriptions into structured tables. So if you jotted down, saw sedges, forgot GPS, smelled like rotten eggs, you can prompt and organize that into species, issues, and observational notes. It can also standardize your metadata, spotting inconsistencies in data formats, missing site IDs, and even flagging out-of-date taxonomy. So like if you're, yeah. So for example, if you have a plant list with sightings of 10 different spellings of Elaeochris and have your entries say Spartina patens, but the rest say Superfluous Antenna AI can help flag those for review and harmonize them with your oversight. We're not replacing botanists or data managers. We are taking the sting out of post-field work, cleanup and prep. Slide. All right, thumbs up in the chat if you've ever lost a morning wrestling with an Excel formula or trying to structure data into the right shape so your graph can actually say what you need it to say. AI can help with that. It's not just formulas, it's catching missing units, placeholder values, or even flagging outliers you might have missed. If you're dabbling in GIS and remote sensing, you can say, give me an R script that masks a raster with a shapefile. Give it a shot. It's not always perfect, but it's better than staring at a blank screen and the cursor of doom. Blink, blink, blink. All right, slide. All right. So ever stare down at a blank Word document titled Wetland Delineation Report and an open Write in the Rain notebook on your desk and you just can't get started? Large language models can help you get past that point. They don't write the whole report. That's still your job, my job as well. But they can help structure and outline your data, notes, and field summaries. They'll take your spreadsheet and turn it into plain language draft. Here's what I found, here's what it means, and pull clear points out of your RFP, sketch out proposal, scaffolding time. It's not a ghostwriter, it's an over-caffeinated intern who never sleeps. Okay, slide. So AI shines at summarizing and simplifying. So you can use it to translate field interactions to Spanish or Vietnamese. Say you've encountered a person in the field and there's a language barrier. It's like you're fairly sure that they're saying you're not supposed to be here, and you're fairly sure you are. And so to diffuse this solution, you can actually open up a voice chat in ChatGPT, and it will live translate for both of you. You can also do this with Google Translate, and they're both based on large language models. All right, and it can generate onboarding guides for interns. So you have like an RFP an SOP and it's dense, you can have it say, I have a brand new person, I needed to do ABC, XYZ. And can summarize Zoom transcripts or Teams meetings. You basically just copy and paste the entire transcript from a 1 or 2 hour meeting and tell it, give me executive summary and action points for everyone on the call. And then you have a bulleted list of everything that you have to do. Communication is half our job, and AI cleans up that side. Slide. All right, prompting. One back, maybe. So.
Yeah, that's the very next slide. Did you want me to go back to the wizard?
No, you're fine. I think I forgot to talk about this. All right, so here's a tool comparison. It's AI models for different wetland workflows. So there are ChatGPT is not the only game in town. So and there are depending on what you have to do, each of them have strengths and weaknesses. So you have your ChatGPT, your Claude, and your Gemini. And so they all have, at first, we can compare the last time they were trained. And so ChatGPT has got data up to June 23. So they're all about the same. And so which ones are strong with handling messy text? ChatGPT is great. Gemini will struggle. And so this next thing is document context. So a token is kind of like a neural network. So it's like how many neurons in a brain. And so and then how many of those neurons will you use for your task. So Gemini clearly has the most neurons and has the best capability of solving large problems with these complex neural networks, but it is the newest, so it's kind of like a super intelligent baby. It just doesn't, it's not smart enough yet. It needs to be taught. So ChatGPT is great with tables, Claude not so much. And so you can see data hallucination I will talk about later. That's when it can't figure out what you want, so it just makes a random citation up. So it will say Dr. Bob Franklin wrote this paper. Unfortunately, neither that person or that paper exists. Okay. And so ChatGPT is the easiest to learn. Claude requires Claude to log in. And then Gemini has to be integrated with your Google, but almost everyone has a Gmail account. Okay, slide. All right, getting better answer through prompting. So you want to remember RISE. Role, input, steps, and examples. So role, I want you to say, act as a wetland scientist, input, here's my messy data, steps, walk me through the cleanup and format, an example. So I want it to be a table, I want it to be a Python script. The better the prompt, the better the results. We use this a lot in computer science and data science. It's garbage in, garbage out. Same rule always applies. All right, next slide. So prompt anatomy. So bad. So let's look at the way you phrase your prompt completely changes your results. Here's a bad example. Fix my table. It's too vague. The model doesn't know what's wrong, what rules will follow, even what kind of output you want. So a little better is clean up this Excel sheet with the date and unit issues. And now we're at least pointing at where it needs to go and leaving a lot, but we're still leaving a lot to of extrapolation for the model. Now here's the best crafted prompt. Act as a wetland data technician. This is field data with a consistent date formats. Missing salinity units, reformat the dates as month, day, year, flag blanks, clean the output table. It's clear, specific, and role-based. And the LLM knows exactly the job you want it to do, and then the problem you want it to fix. Prompting isn't a magic trick, it's a skill. like learning how to talk to a new co-worker that is extremely literal, who's smart and extremely literal. Sorry. The better the prompt, the better the result. So next slide. Okay, so you can depending on your large language models, you can have a variety of different outputs. You can say, give me a bulleted summary. You can have, give me a table or a list. You can give it a rank list. I was like, I want you to take this stuff and I want you to give it a series of sorts. I want you to sort it by, like say you're using it to organize your works cited page. I want it to give it alphabetical, and I want it to be and you can even tell it, I want you to give me a dialogue between two people, or and then even you can tell it to generate a series of source codes, everything from Visual Basic to more abstract code. It's trained on almost all of them, except for Cobalt, evidently. All right, slide. So prompting red flags. Just like bad field notes can lead to bad data, bad prompts can lead to bad AI outputs. One major red flag is vague or lazy prompting, like typing, help me with this report, and expecting magic. You have to be specific. One major, avoiding stacking 5 questions into one prompt. It overwhelms the model and usually results get partial and unfocused answers. Always give context. Let it know what audience it is and what format you want and what the goal is. Otherwise, it just guesses, and sometimes it doesn't do well. Also, don't forget its limitations. It doesn't know real-time data, your internal naming conventions, or your exact workflow unless you tell it. One big one is don't copy and paste outputs blindly. Review as you would someone else that handed you a first draft. When prompting, you really do get out what you put in. Slide. All right. All right, let me show you what this looks like in action. I'm going to take over share real quick. All right. So we've got a raw CSV file straight from a YSI Pro DSS. If you ever opened one of these before, they're not exactly plug and play. The headers are messy, the formatting is inconsistent, and the data have blanks or odd sensor outputs. So I'm going to drop this in ChatGPT and give it a cleaning prompt. Okay, so tell it this is a raw sign output from this device. I want you to structure and reclean it. I want you to remove all header information above the word date in case it's got it says what the first line is. I want you to standardize the date format starting with the year, month, day, and combine date and time into a single timestamp column. I want you to rename columns for special characters and spaces. So if it has units, I guess I don't know if you guys ever dealt with databases, it doesn't like special characters. I want you to replace blanks or unreadable cells with NA, flag missing rows with key values of temperature, DO, and pH. Rounding sensor values, approximate precisions, temp to 1 decimal and salinity to identify and harmonize columns that refer to the same variable, specific inductance, specific inductance, specific inductance. And suggest naming column consistency and then name the columns consistently. Your site, your timestamp, temperature, specific inductance, and so on. And so here's the clean data set. Remove the rows. You can download it right here. Download your table. So that header data is removed, date and time combined, everything we needed. And then it says, tell me what you want. Do you want to output a downloadable CSV, extra logic? You want to filter flow, or a script version to reuse on future files. So basically, it can write you a script in either Visual Basic and R that can process this. And then so I said, can you give me a plot per each site for each parameter? So this is a lot of plotting. What is this? So here's my site for 2, temperature, TO, specific inductance, salinity, turbidity, vertical position, and then it goes to the next site. So I can review all of this in the chat prompt. So this is, my data has just been cleaned and I'm already looking at it on a plot. Okay, and so it ends. Here are the plots for each sensor for each site. Each graph shows how the parameters change over time and use a clean timestamp. And it says, let me know for all graphs for a site combined to a single figure. Do you want to export this to a PDF or an image? Do you want me to flag any errors? And would you like trim lines or smoothing applied? Happy to customize further. And so this is the end of this demo. So it's important to remember we're not expecting perfection here. We're looking for a big head start on clearing like the boring work, formatting, cleaning, and standardizing. And so things that I would just normally write a script for. Okay. So next, there's another cool slide, but we'll see it. I'm not going. I'm just going to go into the next demo. All right, let's go big. So what if we used AI to build something that wetland scientists actually could deploy, like a form filling app for regulatory work? So here, I'm going to take the wetland determined data sheet from the North Central and Northeast regions from the Corps of Engineers. And so, instead of printing this and handwriting it in the rain or recreating in Excel or even using the Corps' PDF to fill on a tablet, I'm going to use a prompt like this. The model, and then I will use the model will give me a fully structured app labeled inputs, drop downs for indicators, and a button to generate a PDF. This doesn't replace our final product, but it gets you 80% of the ways to something useful in minutes. All right. So I said, I need a fully featured R Shiny app to help wetland scientists fill out this form. And I give it the link. Requirements. Be very precise. Include every question from the import file. Organize the data clearly. Use tabs for sections for different parts. Site information, vegetation, hydrology, and soils. For each indicator or choice, do a hover over text tooltip with a short definition of what it actually means. Add a placeholder for images, like things like hydrographic indicators and vegetative strata if relevant. Allow user to download a summary report in a CSV or printable HTML. Make it impressive. Assume demos for scientists at a wetland conference. Also, make it green and gray themed. And then export an app for me. And I gave it less than a paragraph. All right, and said, here's your fully featured R Shiny app. Rotates this form, structured tooltips, placeholders. What's included are your tabs, your tooltips, downloadable CSV, and printable HTML. And then let me know if you want a custom image swapped in, definitions to hover over each indicator, or integrate with a database or an uploadable PDF. All right, so let's actually see what it made us. So this is our studio. It's not super important. So let us run our app. So here's our site information, our project name, our investigators, our region, our lat long. Then we have our vegetation, our tree strata, our vegetated, here's our hydrology, our soils checklist, and our summary and download. So this will tell us, this will put all our data here, and then we'll print a downloadable HTML. So I think it's pretty cool. All right. Now some bonus content. So you want to build a tool for your junior staff or an assistant. So if you want, sorry. So say you want an assistant with perfect recall on every project document. You can create your own ChatGPT. I built one called Project Delta. I use it to to answer repeat questions from my team, things like Excel's formulas, QA rule lookups, and how to handle suspect data. I trained it on our SOP, our QA tables, and our internal workflow. It's basically a chatbot that answers like me. I jokingly call it Robo Dave. It saves hours. So here's Robo Dave. It's Project Delta. So, I loaded it with these pre-prompts, and the interface is like this. And then I can just share this with my team. What it looks like on the back end. So let me show you. So you go into ChatGPT and you go to explore ChatGPT and then hit create. It walks you through the setup. For example, you want Project Delta, your description, and then these are your instructions. And if you're feeling spicy, you can actually use ChatGPT to write your instructions if you've been dealing with a lot, if you've been having a prompt that you're having to fix a lot of your things. So, and then you can be precise as possible. And then here's some conversation starters for it. So these are common things that my team asked for, and they show up here. And then you can load in all your knowledge. So here's project financial workflows, hydro workflows, our proposal documents. And then here's all my source code from different applications. And then this is a spreadsheet of all the every tech request I've ever gotten from my team. So basically this is the tickets records, and then I upload the files. And then I tell it what it can do. I'll let them do code interpretation and data analysis, search the web, and create a model for image generation. It would be weird if they ever did that, but there's no reason to. And then you just hit create. So there you go. So now if anyone is asking, say, hey, Dave, what's the pH range for when we reject water samples at? They can just ask the bot. It knows limits and parameters. So this is still, I have not released this to my team. I'm still training it, but it's not perfect. It offloads repetitive questions to give new staff a place to ask things without feeling like they're bothering anyone. If you're managing interns or rotating teams, this is gold. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the slide. Okay, so we missed my cute little animations. And so this was the demo for the first one where we're cleaning messy data. You can see the scientist loading numbers and formulas into his laptop. And we'll go to the next one. And then this is our friendly wetland scientist building his code. Okay, next. And then talked about custom chat GPTs. Okay. All right. So I know a lot of questions will be about this. And let's be as real as possible. AI makes mistakes. It can hallucinate facts. We never feed it private data. And it's not going to be writing your NEPA reports. Use it to accelerate. We do not use it to abandon responsibility. Slide. All right, so let's talk about when AI goes wrong. So when AI goes sideways, it's going to do it. I touched on it hallucinates citations. You're going to ask it for references. It's going to give you titles that sound like real papers, authors, journals, everything, and none of it exists. It can be confidently wrong. I once asked it to summarize an environmental impact report, and it told me about a bridge that was protecting turns. Sometimes it just gets weird. Why? I fed it a bad prompt because the quality input still matters. If I'm vague, biased, or unrealistic, it reflects back on me. You're still the QA officer. Also, the model's knowledge is outdated. It's referencing a 2024 guidance. It might still pull from a previous report. Most of all, what's most dangerous is sounding believable. It gets tone and format so right, it can trick you into trusting nonsense data. So you, as the wetland professional, are still the QA officer in this workflow. No matter how clean the response looked, it is your job to verify it before anything gets submitted, shared, or published. Okay, slide. All right, so final thoughts. AI isn't perfect, neither are we. It's a tool. The better you learn to use it, the more your day you can spend doing what actually matters: field work, insights, real science. Okay. Next slide. So now I'll open up for questions. If you want tools, prompt templates, my contact info is there. That's my Gmail account, Wetland Dave. Thanks for spending this hour with me, or this 30 minutes with me.
David, we do have some questions that I'll read to you if you would like to entertain those questions at this time.
Sure. Let's go.
The first question comes from Karen, and she wanted you to speak to MS Copilot. I think her organization only allows Copilot and not other types of AI. So what's your thoughts on MS Copilot?
Copilot. Copilot, Microsoft has invested a lot into integrating it into everything. And my thoughts on Copilot is like my thoughts on Excel and Word and PowerPoint. They are integrated into almost every person in corporate, or everyone doing business is integrated in some sort of Microsoft environment. They cornered the market, and it's on your computer. Is it the best model? No, I have trouble with it all the time. But it can do pretty amazing things. And if you're using simple stuff, I don't particularly enjoy it for like writing code. But if you are using it to summarize notes and other processes, I think it's a great tool. And you don't have to download anything. It's literally on your computer because it's pushed to every Windows system.
Our next question comes from anonymous attendee. Are you conscious of the data that you feed into the engine due to client confidentiality, project details not being public information, etc.? How do you tend to combat that? I think you spoke to that briefly, but maybe you could ask that question again.
And so at Jacobs, we actually use Palantir Foundry, um, and we use custom AI. So they are basically disconnected from this, disconnected from the rest of the internet and from the rest of the model. And so when we do client uh, sensitive or proprietary stuff, we would use those type of those models. And so those are enterprise level tools that we would use to say if we needed to make an outline for a proposal we're working on stuff, or the sales uses it a lot. So yes, you can create ChatGPTs with firewalls and safety built in.
We have another anonymous attendee question. What level of human data checking, that is QA, QC, do you need to carry out when using AI to clean your data? I think you spoke to that a little bit as well, but perhaps you can embellish.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I actually did a project that helped AI helped me write an R code for, and it gave me that R code gave me all my plots and everything. And to QA it, I actually had to go back and make pivot tables in Excel to ground truth it. The level of so it's a sliding scale. So it all depends on how important is that data and what are you using it for. And so if you're using it to clean data, that is very important, then you need an exuberant amount of QA. I don't know if anyone's ever used like Power Query, which is also a Microsoft product. It is a data cleaning tool built in. It makes models. You actually use ChatGPT to write that code as well. It's called DAX code. Yes, and and if you need a more transparent heads up data cleaning, that's the way to go, is to have it generate data cleaning scripts.
Okay. Our next question comes from John. Is he correct in assuming most of the functionality in LLMs is available in proprietary versions and much more limited functionality is available in versions available without fees? That was a question I had because you talked about ChatGPT. There's a free version, $20 subscription, a $200 subscription. Maybe you could address those kinds of thoughts in the next question.
Yeah, so that's correct. So ChatGPT has levels. They all have different levels, and it's how much you actually pay for access to the model, and then how much, for lack of a better word, brain power that you. So the free one is your prompts are deprioritized. And so like, and if you have like a large like analysis you're doing, it's going to run slower because it's using less less nodes. But if pro, it's the mid tier. It's you get more access, more priority over the free. And then oh sorry, that's plus. And then pro is like their enterprise level, and then you get a much you get more power, more access. Because it's kind of it's all these requests are coming in and they get prioritized. They get triaged. And so if if you're not a paid client or you're paying less, then you get deprioritized.
Does it, according to the price, do you get better graphics or results, or it just takes more time?
Yes, you actually get if you're on a paid plan, you actually get the newer models sooner. So like on the free models, you're at there for the longest time at like model 3.5, which is like it's like older training data. I think it was like the training data was 2020 or something, and so like model 4 is 2024 as like as the last update. It's kind of like the last build.
We have more time, so if it's good with everybody, we'll continue with these questions that came in, if that's okay. Next question has to do with your PowerPoint presentation. Did you use AI to make some of those cartoons that you had?
I've used it to make every single one. That was an Easter egg I was going to present. If you can actually go back to the slide with the tool juggler, it's like the table. That guy's got an extra finger that goes off the back of his hand that holds the saw. So it's kind of like a silly Easter egg because AI will continuously make mistakes with fingers and give things extra body parts. It mostly knows what things are going to. But yes, I thought it would be fun to just use ChatGPT to make most of the graphics. So I would feed it prompts like, I need a woman wetland scientist confused about what tools, and the tools are a hammer, screwdriver, and saw. Of course, I just used the wetland. I used wetland scientist, or I used a wetland scientist at a computer. Yes. And so if you go to the one where wetlands went wrong, I actually used the prompt, make the laptop into a D&D mimic attacking a wetland scientist. And that's what it gave me. So you're only limited by your imagination.
Reflecting back to what we've talked about already, the additional finger, would that be a different outcome if you had the $20 version or the $200 version of ChatGPT, or would it still be the same?
It would probably be the same because it's trying to navigate that prompt through its neural network, and so it's even random, like if it's they use the Jurassic Park, the path will change through the neural network, so you might get a different image if you ran the same prompt twice. So sometimes you get extra fingers and sometimes you don't. And if you want extra fingers every time, you can actually add it to the prompt.
Our next question it comes from Erin, and she's asking about the spreadsheets that you want to clean up and summarize. Do they need to be web-based in order to input them into AI for cleanup?
No, they can be CSVs. It can read CSVs. It can read Excel files. And so the more complicated the Excel file or Word document, it can be it can be a table in a Word document. It can process those. And of course, the more complicated things you feed it, the more prompting you'll have to give it to, like, so if you feed it a spreadsheet and you'll tell it what worksheet within that workbook that it needs to be looking at, or it will just be confused. But yes, you can tell it there's a table on, in this range on this sheet, and I need you to clean this data, and then I want you to insert it into that same workbook, and then give it to me as a downloadable file.
Okay, next question. In order to say review and learn about a big project you've just been plugging into, could you create a custom GPT with all the relevant documents and then quiz it for the summaries and info in order to learn about the project? Are all the problems with the approach like hallucinations?
Yeah. So if you feed it all your documents, it's going to hallucinate less, right? It's basically you're shrinking it to, it will still have access to like most of the knowledge of the internet, to the collection of human knowledge over time. But if you give it your documents, it's going to prioritize your documents first. So unless those hallucinations are like built into your own documents, you can actually, And actually, if you point it out, it's like, I don't think this exists. It actually apologizes. It's like, oh, that's my bad. I didn't mean to give you a fake citation. And then you can actually have it look at your own work and say, do I have any hallucinations in here? So it's kind of, it will try to predict it, so it can self-correct its own work as well. But yeah,
So
ChatGPT is a very powerful tool for working with teams, and then just having making your own documents like searchable, right? So instead of searching all your PDFs, if you have like a whole bunch of project documents in Word, or you can load in, your accepted proposal, your SOPs, and just have a depository of your knowledge, and then use it as a search tool, and then have it, hey, can you look at scope differences between this scope document, this SOP, and what we were voted in the proposal.
okay, next question. Could you discuss how you use the data sheet forms that Chat created? Do you use further automation to say fill actual data sheets?
Um, it depends. Normally you wouldn't fill the actual data sheet. You can use it to like have drop down boxes, and like you can automate your data filling, but it all depends on like our Shiny, which is the app building part of R, has so much flexibility and tools. And so I didn't show it, but within our studio, there's a publish button. So once you get your app right, you can actually just publish it to a web host, a free web host, and then you can just bring it in the field with you.
Okay. I'm not going in order. This next question is an interesting one to me. Is AI any good at Veg ID if you can input a picture? Well, recently, after field work, I pulled a deer tick off of me, took a picture, and gave it to ChatGPT, and it did correctly identify it. So, could you respond to that question about AI and Veg ID?
So if you asked that question 10 years ago when it first came out, I would say it is awful. I lament, as a classically trained botanist, that it has gotten crazy good at Veg ID. Actually, I use the iNaturalist app called Seek. It is good for most living things. You can scan plants, bugs, animals, mammals, and then basically, as you use the app, it will continue keep giving it different angles, and it will give you a best guess. And also, it will also cross-reference it with your geography. So look and see if it's a native or an introduced and stuff.
You had just mentioned AppSeek. What are your thoughts on Picture This? That's a subscription-based plant ID, Veg ID.
Yeah, it's okay. I've not used it as much. Actually, the biggest game in town is actually Google Lens now. And so Lens can basically, it's an image predictive engine. It knows everything. Every time Google enters a marketplace, it just has so many resources to throw at a problem. So if Google wants to dominate, the plant ID app space, they have the resources to do.
And the next question, I believe we touched on already, the AI tools you're using for your pay versions. You're probably using the ones that are pay for versions, correct?
Yes, I have a personal version of Plus. It's because you get throttled on how many questions you ask, and Plus, which is just the $20 a month plan, will remove that restriction from the free. And then for work, with Palantir Foundry, it is just it's a whole other beast. Enterprise level tools for AI. Basically, we're building instead of using AI stuff, you're building AI tools for clients, and sometimes those clients are internal clients, sometimes they're external clients.
Okay. We still have some time, a little bit of time left. I'm going to continue with the questions if you're okay with that, David.
Great.
You're not tapped out yet?
No, I should have calmed down and gone slower. I didn't need to finish in
I
33
actually, I
minutes.
think it's beneficial to the audience to ask these kinds of questions and vet out some additional information. Next question, and do you have to know R in order coding platform to create a model like you did and to create an app scenario?
No, you can I use R because I like the user interface. Uh a lot it's like it's got a fluid and it's integrated with like the web apps. You don't need to know R. You can actually stumble through it. Like if you're a non-coder and you wanted to make an app and you have an idea for an app, you can just sell it. Hey, I have a prototype idea for an app, and you just start building it. And you put it in R and it doesn't work, and then you just paste in the debugs like, hey, it didn't like this, and then fix it, and then you run it. And it's like, oh, tweak this, tweak this. And basically, you just building it. You're building it as you go. ChatGPT has a lot as a coder to speaking to maybe potentially non-coders. A lot of coding isn't just typing like in a movie, like you're hacking. You're no one's really doing that. There are recipe books and cookbooks and Stack Overflow where you assemble chunks of code to do what you want, and then you put them into a structure. And so ChatGPT can help you tweak your building blocks. Coding really is kind of like Legos. And so like
Okay.
sometimes your Legos are rudimentary and sometimes they are, the Death Star or
Okay. Our next question, do you think that the payoff of learning to use AI in the way that you've been using it is worth it in terms of saving time? Do you think that these AI tools will keep growing and getting better? And if we don't learn how to use these tools, will we run the risk of becoming more obsolete as field scientists in the next 10 or 20 years?
oh, absolutely. You are almost going to be just like 20 years ago, it would have been, you know, it would be weird to say, oh, when on your resume when you're applying for a job, saying, "I know how to use Excel and I know how to use Word, or I use the Office suite." Now it's almost going to be especially in the next 10 years, it's going to be expected that you at least know how to interface. It's just going to be a tool that you have to learn how to use. And as you learn, if you're the first one that learned the tools, you'll be identified as a power user on your team and you become the go-to person. So as these new technologies that come up at your firm, you have an opportunity to like do internal trainings on them, definitely jump on them, especially like if someone like and not preaching to the choir for everyone that's here because you're interested in taking a webinar on AI, but if someone offers an internal training on how to use Copilot, jump on that, become those power users, and lead the way. But you will need to be using these tools in the future. They're not going anywhere. And then I know at most major corporations, they are actually trying to put AI in places where I would think AI doesn't really fit, but and not only is it going to be easier your jobs, your clients are going to be expecting you to use these tools as well.
Okay. Have you used AI to analyze Google Earth vegetation or land features? That's a interesting question because you could ask about almost anything related to land features if you are able to do that through Google Earth.
I wonder. I've not done that, but now I'm wondering if you could do that. I do know on my own project, the USGS will take all the bands on their imagery and basically identify what is land and what is water and do like a land water analysis, basically taking a full spectrum picture and turning it into brown and blue by just doing a pixel translation. I'm wondering if that one could get you a pretty close land water analysis to as like a simple pass. Vegetation from satellite data, you could probably, I don't know if you could use a large language model, but you definitely could train AI to detect bandwidths. You know, you need a, so the models are as good as the training data. So if you could figure out a way to do, to give it the training data to do it once, it could repeat it and automate that process.
Okay, we have time for just a couple more questions before I have to do my wrap up and my administrative SWS couple of slides that I have remaining here. Next question, is there any concern with the resources used when running AA models at such a large scale?
Yes. There are environmental and ethical considerations with using AI. You're using a very complicated computer, so like sometimes if you're using it to like do internet searches, you are using a lot more environmental resources, and it because AI does have a lot larger uh, carbon footprint. So there are ethical implications to AI that will have to. I think it's definitely on some people's radars, and so we're definitely, as far as sustainability and ethics, that is definitely an area that will need to be. They'll have to definitely figure that out in the future.
So I'm scrolling through these questions because I don't think they have time to answer the remaining 7, but this is one to tie into what we just talked about. Someone wrote in, they've heard that AI usage takes a heavy toll on water supply and electricity. Do you have any suggestions how to use AI sustainability or other thoughts on the environmental impacts of AI tools?
Yes. I assume that it's going to follow other carbon offset models. I do know like um, that large corporations, like we actually have certain using software to fix software problems, but we basically map out all of our efforts and um, do carbon credit offsets and stuff like that. So it would the solution will look similar to like wetland mitigation, and it's unfortunately or fortunately AI and stuff aren't going anywhere, so we're going to have to figure out how to offset it and mitigate these real damages to the planet.
And our last question that we'll have time for, can you complete the wetland determination form by transferring data that has been written down in a notebook and photographed?
Yeah, it's one of those yes but answers. It really depends on how well that you wrote it. The AI does have what we call OCR, which is optical character recognition, and sometimes it can do a pretty good job. That technology is definitely something it's needed to work on. It's been a lot of research done into it. It does a pretty good job, but if you have messy handwriting, it will have a harder time. So yes, but
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, David. And because you provided your contact information, I suppose for the questions we didn't get to or any new questions that are thought about, folks can email you directly with those questions.
oh, for sure. Anything you guys need.
Thank you. Well, be careful. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go through just a couple of slides in the 60 seconds I have remaining. I want to give you a thank you to our sponsors for the webinar series, Davy Mitigation, SWCA Environmental Consultants, and RES, Restoring a Resilient Earth for a Modern World, that is Resources and Environmental Solutions. Next slide. And these are benefits of being an SWS member if you're not one already. Next slide. And some of the benefits of the membership is the webinar series that you get for free and on demand after they're posted, once they're posted in a couple months when that's put up on our site, and also some job postings that would be available that you could see. And then the last slide talks about upcoming webinars. The July webinar we're not having because it's the annual meeting in Rhode Island. Hopefully everyone, I'm not going, but hopefully everyone will be attending that. And then August 21st, the topic is to be determined, and September 18th is going to be Mill Creek Sink Water Quality Improvement Project. And then I'll yield back to our SWS folks that are running the slides. It's exactly 2 o'clock. We finished on time. Thank everyone for attending. Over.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
That wraps it up. Thanks everyone for joining. It was a big call today. We had looked like almost 300 people on the call. So
Yes, we did. And most
that's
of
why
them,
yeah.
very good. Good
Very
work.
good.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.